first Esav is given, just to get that clear, that the shaga of the Arya, the cry of these boneless, Yimin, that's Gilu, Yimin, the right side, the Arya is on the right side. So this shaga, this is these boneless, this is the Srafim, who have a Havana, it's Elam Habriya, that's the Darga. So this is not so much that they are masig. Rephrase that. It's not so much. It's not the spilus of the saga. The spilus of a hasaga nifla is not pale shaiga, this cry. So what's pale by them? Ka'arya yishog, the shaiga. So that is that they're misbeinen, that their chayis is only a ha'ara. Then they're misbeinen and higher than their chayis. In the words of the Maimer and the Shoilo, all the inyanim which are shayches of Gvul, Tzir, and so on, to the ha'ara which is their chayis, they're misbeinen in the source, and from this, in the flow of the earth, which is higher than the ha'ara which animates them, that's where the shaykh comes. And that was the end of his Gimel. That's clear? The end of the first Eis of his Gimel. That's a raptor. Yeah? We go further? Okay, good. So now the second paragraph of his Gimel. So from the cry of the Aryeh, again, that these boneless Elam Abriya, Elam Abina, Ima Mekanana Bekupsaya, the mother rests on the throne, that's Bina, and that's Elam Abriya. So from there, Nimshach Inyan Ashayge Bechol Dalat Chayes Emerkava. So from there, this is boneless, this is pearl, Ashayge, and all of the other dargas of all the Dalat Chayes. The Arya is one of them. Should be Bechol Gimel. Even Gampnei Sherish Me'asmoil. However, Achmakom Boke Ksiv Ka'arya Yish. So even though that this is bonus is prayer in the other chayas, but we don't see the union of Yishak by them, only by the Arya, as he goes on to explain what this means. The cry, the spilos, the gewalt, is only by the Arya. And Yibazan is as follows. In the Hefresh between Arya and the difference between the Arya and the Sher is the Arya, as the pasuk says, "Pnei Arya ela Yamin." So the vision of the Merkava that the Maimon began with, that we addressed at the outset. So the Arya is on the right side. P'chinas Chesed. What's the right? That's Chesed. Upnei Sher Me'asmoel, and the Sher is on the left side of the Merkava. Actually, it's not. It's on all four sides, but the left side of each side. P'chinas Gvura. So what's left? Smoil is Gvura. Min is Gilui, and left is holding back is Gvura. Min Mekareves, as the pasuk says, and Smoil Deich. So Hefesh ben Chesed, the Gvura, what between Chesed and Gvura? Chesed, the Chayes, the Begilu, these pashtus. Chesed, the life force, is revealed and expansive. The Gvura, who betzimtzum, the kibbutz. Gvura means that the Chayes is contained and contracted. We're going to get the lesson here in the study of animals. It's called what? Zoology. Yeah, at its source. So we see this also by the Ari and the Sher down here. What's the difference? The Sher, the ox is strength. There are many yields in the power of an ox, referring to the ox's ability to plow and field and so on. The Nonetheless, behemoths, when it comes to behemoths, of which the shayr is in brackets Shambhala Shalem Shayr, king of the behemoths of cattle. So what's for behemoths? Cattle is the shayr. No, it includes more than that. It's all
livestock.
Livestock.
Domestic.
Yeah. Yeah, but domesticated kosher animals. So cats also domesticated. So there's a word, whatever. You understand? So that whole category of kosher. Shambelach Shem Hoari, that he is the king. So in a chayis begidder kolkach, you don't see life force and energy. Maybe chayis, like you see in wild animals. Shambelach Shalahem Hoari, who was the king of the usually you say beasts, but at any rate, the wild animals, undomesticated, as you say, is the lion. Shachai Shalhem by them, by the chayis. So you see the life force is revealed and intense. Meaning that the species of chayis, they don't have the power, the strength of the behemoths, of the ox and other animals like it. But they have the alacrity, energy, quickness, intensity. Because the life force is revealed that this is Yamin. He comes from the Pnei Shorish, is the Shorish of all of the behemoths, the Pnei Ari of all of the Chayas. So, and he hits from the right side because there the Chayas is Begolu. Shenkin behemoths in Beyosim Bali Kreach Maruba. Sorry, not Mr. Lai. The fish are Chayas Shalem Begila Yosef because by the Chayas, the life force is revealed more. Shalachei Nikra B'Shem Chayas. So they're called Chayas. What Chayas means, life. Animated life creatures. That's also the reason why that wild animals, we call them just Hebrew Chayas, Toifa is V'dorises. They tear at their prey and they trample, yeah. Even though they're stronger, they have tremendous strength. They do not, they don't tear apart prey. Behind the fish will be kibbutz because their life force is contained. As the pasuk says, and the Gemara says, respect how a person should devote himself to Torah, like an ox to the yoke, and like a donkey to the load. That's how a person should devote himself to Torah study. And we see from here that what's the ox? The oil, carry the yoke. The ox lends itself to the yoke because his nature is bittul and kibbutz, contracted life force, not manifested, not hispashtus, spread uncontained. This is all begashmius. Why is it so begashmius? Because of the way it is baruchnius in the shayrish. There is a yuvan ha'hefresh ben pnei ari pnei sheshulamayim. Likewise, understand the difference between the pnei ari and the pnei shir, the different malachim l'mayim. The pnei shir shemi ha'smoil, the ox is on the left. That's gevura harechayusam bekibutz v'tzimtzum. So the life force invested in them is contained, contracted. So they also have, it's all olam abriya. Or at least the gilut, his abundance, as he said, of the Pnei Aryeh, of the Seraphim, pearls, and all of the other chayos. So they also have an appreciation of that flow of the oil. But doesn't pale spilers. It's not intense. They are more in a matzav of what? Of shuv, of return, rather than the gaguy in the kleis hanefesh. Because to begin with, the whole teva is contained, is inward, not outward. But whereas the Pnei Arya of the right side, which means there's no tzimtzum, relatively speaking, shechayusim begiloi there, the chayis is begiloi, hareim barotzoi v'toikef hatzimoin lalis l'mayim. So these bonus in the flow of the oil, the bligvo, which is the shayrish of the, you said earlier, the shayrish, the source of the chayis. So there, his bonus is barotzo, is with his desire, the toikev hatzimoin, an intense thirst, lalis l'mayla to ascend. Shechayusim begili, because they margish, they feel their life force in a revealed way, and it's manifested in them, and they're animated. Just said that, yeah. They don't have the shuv property, which is the property of the Pnei Shor. This is why Ari is Begematri Gvura, the opposite. Yeah, we just finished saying Chesed. It goes to say immediately. That in the Arya Gufa, it's intense. The Ava, this pashtus is intense. That's why it's Begematria, it's Beremes there, it's not his overt identity, but it's a property.
Mixed with Gvura.
Mixed with Gvura, the Maid of Gvura.
Yeah.
The Maid of Gvura.
His chesed is mixed with the Maid.
Yeah, yeah. Behind us, it goes and say more bepratius. Shepnei Arya b'chnes yisay da eish. Gvura is eish, because Gvura is malamata l'mayla. What does Gvura say? Just in pashtus. Gvura is midis ad-din. Gvura says nobody gets anything. If you deserve it and you ascend, you get. And Chesed says everybody gets everything. There's no chesed. So Gvura, that's why fire is the physical incarnate, one of the primary physical incarnate of Gvura, and water is a physical incarnate of Chesed. And hence the different properties and contrasting properties. Fire ascends and water descends. Fire demands surrender. The fuel needs to surrender. For the fire to exist, the fuel has to be consumed. Midas Adin says, give up something. Make the effort to come here. It's not a free lunch. And water, there's no such demand. Water descends and suffuses. And water connects everything equally. Things get wet, they stick. Things get dry, fire, they separate. Because chesed treats everybody equally. Everybody, everything. We're talking pure chesed. And Gvura says, nobody, nothing, unless you have deserved it, you earned it, and exposed. What's doing the pneumius? Fire exposes, separates. Everything's judged in its own merit. Shammai and Hillel, classic. And their lifestyle is expressed with these inyonim. So all to say that the Pnei Arya is Gvura, which means it's avoidable lamata l'mayla. It's Israfim, it's like fire, burnt up. Burning up the ego and his desire and his avona basagal b'aflo v'likus. So it's a great intensity. Ava, Kirishpesh said that there. Yeah. Avodas hamalachim, the Pnei Arya, and so the avodah of the malachim embodied in Pnei Arya. That's we're talking malachim. That's what these things mean. It's a thirst and a love like flames of fire reaching out ever higher. Shenkin avodas hamalachim Pnei Shor, with the avodah of the malachim Pnei Shor, shubchinas yisayid hamayim. Okay, tzarich a little bit. The one is Yamin, the one is Smile. Shor is the opposite. The Arya is Yamin, and Pnei Shor is Smile.
And then Atem, no, Atem, but Pnei Arya is Chesed, but it's mixed with the Mila.
Yeah, yeah.
And this is Gvura, and Shor is Gvura. That's why it's on the left.
But it's the unit of Mayim. Even though Mayim is generally associated with Chesed, the opposite. Anyway, because of the scholarless, as you say, it's what dominates. Shehu b'chines yisoid Mayim. So the avodah of the Shor is Mayim, ein a bit simboim kol kach. It's not the thirst and longing, the rapturous desire of the Pnei Shor. Yesh behem chinashuv. And therefore things are settled and internalized, even though they have the Havana. But they don't have the Havana. The Havana does not pale these spilers that it does for the Pnei Shor, for the Serafis. All to say why? Because there, the whole Tnuah. The Tnuah of the Pnei Arya is Gilul. And the Tnuah, because Yishayrish is Chesed, you mean, and the Tnuah of the Pnei Shor is Tzimtzum and Kibbutz and yes, and very strong, but settled and internalized. And hence, the Shaiga is only by the Aryas, he goes on to say. But before that, a more interesting contrast here. So one pasuk says in Eov Benegeya, the Shor, Yigo, Shor al Beliloi. Well, an ox, the word is low. That's the word, L-O-W, an ox lows. Yeah. Beliloi means over his food. In other words, it's called Beliloi, the Farshim say, because they mix. It's a mixture. Bolo means mix. It's a mixture of grain and other things. So if you hear an ox lowing, it's not because he doesn't have his food. Did you ever hear an ox lowing al Beliloi when he has his food in front of him? He's content and he eats. He's not lowing then. When he has his grain, his mixture, whatever it is there, he doesn't have a whole unlimited amount of grain. He's just given by the farmer his portion to eat right now. He's given food, nourishment and food according to his matzah. He's happy, he's satisfied. And he no longer lows. That's the word, yeah. For food. That's his teva. What do we see about the Ari? The opposite. Shenkin ba'ari yaksiv, the pasuk says in Amos, Hayishog ya Ari b'yar v'teref einoi. Will you hear a lion roar in the forest? He doesn't have his teref, his prey. That's when he roars. He has the prey and he's devouring the prey. Yemel shreite. What's the difference? Baruchli is. The loins of Bavad. This reminded of something when I was in Texas a couple of years ago in Houston. Not in Houston, by Dabrowski, where is he? In Dallas. Mendel Dabrowski, the shliach, you know Mendel? Right. Shliach in Dallas. Good verbracht, and after we were talking, so his father, Yeshua Dabrowski, was alive. He was a very good friend of Rabbi Yoel, and he actually wrote, his father, Yeshua Dabrowski, was the one that wrote up many of the first 4 halakim of the Sichos. He was an incredibly gifted writer and a very brilliant man. His children. His oldest son, Lippe, was a shliach in Vancouver and died suddenly of a heart attack. Lippe was a legendary, almost figure, a quiet fellow. He was a shliach in Australia after my day when he left. But my brother, Chaim Elon, was very influenced by Lippe, but there's been many others. Today, shluchim, thanks to him. This is their father, Yeshua Dabrowski. So Mendel, the son in Dallas, was standing in the parking lot and talking. So he was saying, as a kid, he was telling stories of Rabbi Yoel. We had no children. So they used to hang out at his house and they used to come to their house. Friends with their father. So once he went to the zoo. As a kid, Cholamoy, Pesach, Sukkot, he went to the zoo.
With Rabbi Yoel, no.
Rabbi Yoel. I guess the wives went. Their friends, their buddies. So he was a kid. He was a little child, of course. But the discussion was, see, look, the animals, the old sporting chassidus, many of them in the teva, and the seeing it in the teva, that was the discussion, looking at the animals in the zoo. In other words, to whatever degree, the first upleg was a likus. And Welt is a moshel, looking at the moshel of the likus. The famous Shalah, you're all familiar with, the famous Shalah quoted that the world makes a mistake, and the world says, right, Torah speaks first and foremost of Tachtonim, Avram and the Sodom and the Pari and the Yitzchak and the Moishe. Meramezes Bel Yonim, the hints to very lofty things. It's the opposite. Meramezes B'Tachtonim. First and foremost, this is the course. And yes, there's also Pari, there was Avram and Yitzchak. Someone that learns in Chassidus starts to develop that attitude. First and foremost, it's the course. Also the Gashim is that too. First reaction is, each one's all relative. That's the view. Relative to us, certainly. So we see the difference. V'hainu, when the ox has his food, allotted food, again, in Agam Shorak Bilidlo, certainly his portion, he doesn't see in front of him endless grain. He sees what he has to eat. He's satisfied. As the Kram is stopping, but in the Goyes, he no longer lows. Shenkin Bari to Rapton now, Ksiv, Hayishagari Bayar, the Terefenli, it's a rhetorical question. Will a lion roar in the forest and he doesn't have his prey? That you can be certain he's got his prey. But what happens? See, the lights of Bulvat Shainim is stopping. The lion not only is not satisfied, and it doesn't satisfy his thirst, that he has his prey. The more he understands, the more the gewalt, the more the longing. And he adds in brackets, that's what teref is, the prey. How's that word familiar to you, friends? How's that word teref very familiar to you? When do you say it? You say it every week, at least. Number once a week you say it. Another hint. Friday night? No. But she's chaya, but didn't teref the besa. She gives the food to her household. All she's chaya is about malchus and the shamas Yisrael. And teref and tzutzik dusha, which you didn't elevate, and so on. He says here, teref, in the brackets now, teref is begematria 288 nitzutzis plus 1. You have in gematria, you have the word itself counts for 1. So tell me, what's this number? 288. What's this number? 288, that's the general number of the Nitzutzik Dusha, which fell into the world and fragmented then into billions of smaller parts, which the whole tachlis is to elevate. This is classic teaching God user. Where's it hinted to? Why we gave out the sheets of this is to love it up there in the folder. Where's this hinted? The Reish Beches. In what? Ruach Elokim berachefes al pnei hamoyim. So the Spirit of Hashem is hovering over the water, says that Yizal, with Marachefes is broken up. Reish Beches mess. 288 Nitzutzik Dusha fell into this dead world. You don't see the highest, and the whole tachlis is to elevate these sparks. Since we've just finished the idea, most of the sparks, the big spark, the Nitzutzik Dusha, were already elevated by who? Yetzias Mitzrayim, the Erev Rav Olu Itam, and the great multitude went up with them. So Rav is 202. So the 202 sparks were elevated already. Mitzrayim, these are general sparks. Mitzrayim was all the riches and the wealth of the world is concentrated there. They went out, they took out the gold and silver, so they elevated 202 of the 288 sparks. So how many sparks are left? What's 202 from 288? 86. That's Begimatria Teva, Shem Malikim. There's 86 sparks left, dispersed to all of nature. Once the Rebbe said, it's only 86 left. That way it's not so difficult. Most of the 202 are done already. It's 2,000 years we're doing these 86 sparks. Akoponim. So this is the teref, the pasuk says. Hayishig ari beyar v'teref ein loy. He has teref. He's elevating the sparks. The Adarab, this is even more his longing and desire for likus, for the Eibishter himself, the bligvul beyond the chayis invested in him. This causes his cry, the gewalt, to be even greater. And what's the parallel in our avodah? The Mashakos of Eretz, the Pasuk says that the Pasuk reckons out some things that are never satiated. One of them is Eretz lays Sova Mayim. The earth can never be satiated with the water, can always absorb more and more. Temporarily it may flow, but eventually it's absorbed. So what's Eretz? We know that Eretz, earth is Mekabel. Earth is Knesset Yisrael, Malchus. So the Pasuk is saying that Eretz Leisova Mayim, that a Yid, Neshamas Yisrael, is never satiated. And not satiated certainly with just appreciating the Eibishter as creator, the Chayes Eliki that's invested what? In creation. But I want to know you, the Pnimius Evelikus. Not enough to be one, just to elaborate, you've spoken about. There are people, they're very spiritual and so on, and what's that spirituality? In touch with nature. And that's a real thing. That is in touch with the chayis in nature, with the kus in nature. At the end of the day, it can't satisfy for you. He wants to know the Eibishter beyond creator. This Eibishter invested is the chayis mitzumtzum, and it's beautiful, and it's a likus, it's a ruchnis. It's all ha'orah. The Eibishter is immeasurably beyond. Where's the Eibishter revealed? Where's the anoichi? Tell you the mitzvahs and the shamas yisrael. So at the end of the day, it's a temporary fulfillment, but at the end, the cry of the Arya Yisha cannot be stilled for any neshama. In the middle of the night, the cry, doesn't know why he's crying. That's what he's crying for. Not only is their thirst not quenched with the water, every giloy nasa etzam hatzimoin beyoysa, the desire for more and deeper, to know you ever deeper. The more you show yourself of us, the more we want you, not the more we're satisfied. And thank you very much. You have a nice life, beautiful life. Huh?
Someone once told me that the Rebbe wrote somewhere, find a source.
Yeah.
That the Yid's push for guilt, success that you can have Gashmis, sources of that.
Yeah. Could be the what you're talking about is Chemel Agode, Avodas Perach, Chemel Avenim. It's going to go somewhere. He's driven. Right. So it's not going to be driven.
And it's in the shamas, the kaiches here that's pushing to find that.
So it's going to end up in Hara and building pyramids, and that's going to not be satisfied. It's in there. It's irrepressible. His restlessness is irrepressible. It's going to go somewhere. Okay, let's go a little further. Actually, not. We should stop here because he davens pretty much on time. We want to be there. So today's story is a little longer.
I'm sorry. A quick question, just to recap.
Yeah.
So Shir is Mayim. Shir is yeah. So the Yid. How does the Yid, who has an appreciation and of the Indian of Shuv, have the Tzimoin because of this Kalus? Yeah, is that because of this Kalus?
Yeah, he's 40 Yid and his neshamas. Some of the Maimah goes deeper. This is all Malachim. The neshamas Moishe Shenatzmos, and it's beyond even the Shaigas Ari. We'll see at the end, even beyond. I didn't learn the Hamayim, but that's what's going to go. And so these are all steps along the way. His abundance along the way, which is why it's part of Birchas Kriyashma. At the end is Atem v'chatano, Avas Olam, David chose a Yid, and that is even higher still. And then we'll see, we'll further. So